Our next guest is Justine Lett. Justine is an internationally recognized hypnotherapy trainer. She's the owner of Hypnosis New Zealand and creator of the Golden Thread Trauma Transformation Protocol. Justine is an expert in using hypnotherapy and altered states to help clients overcome negative past experiences, beliefs, and feelings, and create a great life. Justine, welcome.
Welcome.
There you are.
Hey, how are
Hi.
you?
I'm great. I'm great. I'm excited for our conversation today.
Yeah,
I
definitely.
have to say, I have not talked about this topic with anyone in the past. So
Yeah,
I am really excited and I think it'll be a fascinating topic for everybody. And
yeah,
you have a lot on your website that we'll get into later. So I want to just start right off by asking you the first, like most of our listeners are moms or women in general, but moms, entrepreneurs. This applies really to anybody, to be honest. But most people, first issues that come up, whether you are dealing with just family or business or both, is going to be stress. They're like, there's no time, I can't fit another thing into my life. I'm overwhelmed. And I'm guessing that hypnotherapy can help with this. So maybe you can give us a specific technique or a few techniques that would work or that you know of that you could explain, I mean, with both stress management and work-life balance.
yeah, totally. So most people that I see for lots of different things, and I do see mums all of the time, coming in for hypnotherapy or any kind of work. Yeah, most of the time, most people are stressed and overwhelmed. I think our environment and our lifestyle is made now with financial stress and everything else, where there's so much stuff going on, and then of course underlying the now and the everyday stuff, maybe like you said, raising kids, and the day-to-day things. We also have past experiences that build up, that cause our brain to constantly be seeing things in the environment, which I call triggers, which trigger memories and things, which of course also create nervous system overwhelm. What stress really is when you look down, there are some people that can manage so many things and their nervous system stay calm and relaxed, and whereas there's others that only one or two things will pop us over the edge and cause us to be quite done with everything.
Yes.
Way overwhelmed. And so stress and overwhelm is not necessarily about how well you can manage your day-to-day things that are happening right now. A lot of it has actually got to do with our past experience and the things that have happened through our life from childhood, even developmental stuff, and how that's built up in our system, and how our system now sees the world and the environment. Is it safe? Is it not safe? So with hypnotherapy and other techniques that I do, my job really is to calm the nervous system down. It really is. And I'm sure you've had lots of guests that have taught or been talking about the nervous system and how it affects us and how we respond to the world. But most of the techniques that we do with hypnotherapy and other things is about regulating the nervous system, is about bringing us back into the moment. Now, people will talk about mindfulness and being in the moment. That's one thing. But like I said, our mind travels, so we might walk into a room and you might have never been in this room before. But as you look around the room, your brain is going to scan for threats and dangers associated with past experiences. So you might go into a room and feel really, really amazing. And then you walk in there and boom, something's spotted and you start to feel anxious and overwhelmed. So for me, it's working out with a client what's today, what's environmental, and then what's some past stuff that we can help shift. Now, when I say shifting past stuff, I don't take people back into the past, and we don't talk about all of those experiences, but there are ways of teaching the mind and teaching your body that you are safe and you're okay here and now. So like I said, it's being overwhelmed and being stressed is not always about how well you can manage your time or how much you can cope with, because some people will feel like absolute, I have people coming in and they feel like failures because everybody else can do this and this and this person. People say to me all the time, you're a solo mom and you're in an organization and you do training and all this kind of stuff, and how do you do it when I can't do anything? And it's like, I get stressed and overwhelmed, we all do. And so it's not about who can do more or who can do less. It's really about having mechanisms, having things in place, plus sometimes getting a bit of help with things that may be overwhelming the system from the past, or thoughts and things that are going on. So hypnotherapy is just one of the modalities, and of course working with someone. I know there's coaches out there, people that can kind of help bring you in and move you forward.
Yes, that's true. That's true. And I'm guessing that hypnotherapy has, a lot to do with mindfulness, and, opening your mind. I mean, so many people, we were talking earlier, so many people are actually not as open-minded as I would expect them to be. Like I'm a little bit older than most, and most of my clients are, younger than me, and I expect that they are more open-minded, and instead it's the opposite. Many of them. And when I say open-minded, I don't mean that they are, I just mean it like when it comes to things like modern parenting or being not everything else, but parenting in general, they seem to be surprisingly in like the last generation or whatever. So that surprises me. And when I talk about, to be honest, when I talk about something as simple as mindfulness, sometimes I get eye rolls. Right. I'm like, what? I don't understand. Like, why would you not want to learn and grow? Right. So
with hypnotherapy, so us in New Zealand, hypnotherapy is pretty mainstream, and so for myself, I teach hypnotherapy techniques to different organizations like Red Crosses or suicide prevention. I teach psychologists. We are and it could be because of the way I've been promoting it in the last 5 to 7 years with the organization, getting it out there. But I do come across people sometimes that still think that hypnotherapy is what you see on stage. And to be honest, I do sometimes have fun with people if they come up to me and say, oh, you can't hypnotize me, or are you going to make me click like a chicken? I'm like, if you want to, do you want to have a go? So I sometimes have fun with people. But hypnotherapy is one of those things that sometimes people can be a little bit like, what is it? Is it real? So I will explain a little bit about what hypnosis and hypnotherapy is. Basically, people will think that you go into a room and you sit down and someone will make you fall asleep and they'll give you suggestions in your mind to make you feel better. That is how quite a lot of people think about hypnotherapy. What basically hypnosis is itself is, if there are times in your life, in your day-to-day life, that you are doing things that you don't want to be doing, but you can't stop doing them, that to me is hypnosis. So the woman that comes to me that says, in the evening, I find myself in the kitchen eating biscuits, even though I want to be healthy and I just can't stop. Or I get up in the morning and I really want to walk, but before I do it, I just can't do it. Or the people that tell themselves over and over again in their mind, the stories we tell ourselves about not being good enough, or I'm never going to be as good as that person. Now, this to me is hypnosis. Hypnosis is when you are walking in the world and seeing the world in a way based on past experiences, things people have told you. It's like your body is being driven by a motor and you're doing behaviors that you just can't stop doing. So for me, when I look at the world and I look at people walking around, we are all in some kind of altered state. Like if when you drive into town, we always use the old driving into town, but when you're driving into town and you're not fully concentrating, you're thinking about what you're going to do in the afternoon, you're actually going in and out of different altered states, which to me is hypnosis. when we're very young, under the age of 7, children are in an altered state. Children are in what we call hypnosis up until about 7 or 8. This is when their mind is open and they're a sponge. They're soaking everything and they're learning everything, and vicariously they're really imaginative. You can give a child, a 2-year-old, a stick and say, hey, it's a horse, and they'll be jumping around, just like what people do with people on stage doing hypnosis. So when I work with people, especially when they ask me, can I be hypnotized? I'm like, what are you here for? And to me, they're in a trance of an idea of I can't do something. So what we do is we use an altered state to bring them out of that trance, to stop the story that's going on. For me, I think that makes sense for some people. I know people listening, especially when you've got kids, you spend a lot of your time, you're probably in your head pre-planning or thinking about the past and just going about your day. You'll have routines. You get the kids up in the morning, you'll brush your teeth, you'll go and do your breakfast. And if you were to think back over your day, you probably won't remember a lot of it, because most of the time you're in your head, you're in dreamland. And our brain is so amazing that when we close our eyes and we imagine something, especially we feel it, we actually create physiological responses in our body. So you imagine someone that's scared of dogs, and then you say to them, we're going to go around to this house and there's dogs there. What do? They freak out. They can get sweaty hands. They can have a panic attack. There's no dog there. That is totally done through imagination. And it's the same. So when we use hypnosis, we use what hypnosis is to me as a heightened imagination and a focused attention. So what we focus on and what we imagine is most likely what's going to happen in our environment. So we use the power of our mind to actually, change what people are thinking about, change automatic behaviors. If I'm doing, say, because I do high-level sports people, if someone's coming in and they want to win a race, all I do with them literally is, if they've got stuff going on, is bring up a sensation that's not comfortable for them, for the reason that brought them in. We shift that, which I can talk about later. But then I actually get them just to relax and take themselves into the future and see themselves doing the race or whatever they're doing in their mind, in an altered state. And then their mind actually believes they've done it. So when they go back onto the last one, I was working with a motocross guy, when they're back on that track again, their mind goes back to the last memory that they have of riding that bike. And the last memory was actually with me in the clinic. So instead of going back to a memory where they were freaking out and they couldn't go fast, the body believes, and the imagination believes that they've been out and they've done it already. So of course, there's so much power in using hypnosis, using the mind, using imagination, and creating change. I believe myself personally, I've worked with people on everything, people that can't walk, people that have, physical health problems, people that have trauma, you name it, I've worked with it. But a lot of our problems in our life are what I call psychosomatic, meaning they're not real. Like what is real is in our environment around us. The stories we tell ourselves, which affect our nervous system, they're not real. So bring it back to a parent, or someone working with business. You might be working with your business, but the story you might be freaking out about is, if I leave my current job and do this full time, I bet I won't be able to pay the bills. I bet I won't be able to do this. Or what happens if I don't succeed? Or what if I get in front of camera and people actually think I'm not good?
Right.
These aren't real. These stories we tell ourselves, they're not real. But the minute we tell ourselves these stories, our nervous system responds to the stories we tell us. And once the nervous system responds, here we have stress and anxiety over things that aren't even real. And so when you go and work with a coach, or you go and work with a hypnotherapist, or you go and work with, any of these kind of modalities that regulate the nervous system, what we're actually doing is sometimes just even bringing you into place of what is real and what isn't. I see people seriously that come in with amazing health conditions, and the experiences they're having in their body are literally just from reading the condition they were given, by getting on the internet and searching what they're supposed to be expecting, and then their body plays it out because they've played it out in their head. And our powerful mind is able to give us what we want all of the time. So, you know, having a little tool for people here today, I wasn't even going to go into this, but if this is for entrepreneurs or, you know, mums working with business, I'm telling you right now, if you close your eyes and you can go into the future and you can imagine your life with your business incredibly successful, being able to see it, being able to feel it, it sounds silly, but what you're actually doing is you're creating a path for your mind to move towards. And as long as you've done work clearing out past experience so that your mind isn't, you know, so overwhelmed and trying to keep you safe, your mind is going to move you towards a future. And if you don't have a future in mind that you want, even the people that have got the most calm, regulated nervous system, they're going to wander through life, probably be pretty lucky because, you know, they're calm and relaxed. But our mind is always wanting to move us towards something. So you can go and do a lot of work with someone on thoughts and beliefs and ideas and where we want to be. But if your mind doesn't actually have a solid picture or memory of what it is you want, it's very, very hard for your mind to show you the things that you need. So being able to just, and hypnosis isn't going to see someone and, you know, like I said, counting back. It's been proven now that if you can picture or feel, you don't have to picture, I don't see anything in my mind when I imagine, it's just black, but I can, if you take yourself into an imaginary future and feel that you're there, your brain then will create a memory of that. And then your memory has to line up with your reality. So you'll find it a lot easier to do the things that you need to do to get where you want to go. So just even closing your eyes and just imagining where you want to be. I work a lot, of course, with women and weight loss. You know, it's a big thing. Everyone, you know, women come in any shape and size wanting it. And the reason why I don't mind doing it, I never wanted to work with weight when I was young, is it, you know, weight loss, the body responds with weight. It's a mixture of so many different things. For me, it's overwhelm of the nervous system, and so many parts of their life, you know, are causing a body response. But the reason why I'm saying this is if I say to someone when they come in, what do you want to look like? How do you want to feel? And they can't tell me. There's, you know, we have to, that's the first thing, apart from shifting uncomfortable sensations, that's the first thing I'm going to do, because how are you supposed to get to where you want to go when you don't know what that is? You don't have to know exactly, you know, exactly what it is you want, but you have to have enough of an idea of how you want to feel so that you can get direction. I remember writing an article on first you must shift uncomfortable sensations in your body that are stopping you moving forward, and then you must get an idea of what you want, or else it's like walking into like a field in the dark and someone blindfolds you, it spins you around and gives you an arrow and says, right, you know, I want you to hit that target, and you're like, and you don't even know what direction you're going. So so using your mind and actually visualizing it as a very, very good superpower for moving forward. You know, they use it in so many different fields in business and in sports.
They do.
And
that's true.
with us.
That's true.
And teaching kids,
you know,
to do it. Yeah.
And teaching kids, that's important too. And you said so much. I've been trying to jot down little words, so I remember to ask you, because you put so much into that and so many things that I want to ask you about now. First thing, it would help if I could read my own writing, number one. No, the first thing I wanted was way back in the beginning, you said something about driving when you're driving home or what have you. I want to tell you a really quick little short story. You tell me what's wrong with me. No, I'm only kidding. I'm only kidding. But the truth is, this was a few years ago, actually maybe about 3 or 4 years ago. And I picked up my grandson at preschool, and it's like not even 5 minutes from my house. So we're driving back home, but I had been doing this like for, I don't know, for a long time, because there's 2 of them. So I did one, and then this is the second one. Okay. So I've been doing it a long time. Well, I guess I was talking to them. They're little. They were very little at the time if they're in preschool, right? So I'm talking away. Maybe the radio was probably on. I don't even know. All I know is my car, I don't know how. My car went to a neighborhood close by that I hadn't lived in for 10 years.
Amazing. Yeah.
I was like, I was, when I turned into that street, I I just stopped and looked around. I just laughed. I had no
Yeah.
idea how I got there.
Yeah.
So what was that?
Yeah.
What do you think that
Okay.
was?
So for me, from a brain perspective, I would imagine that during the conversation that you had with your grandchildren,
Mhm.
from a brain perspective, I would imagine that it's triggered a response or memory from maybe the past, maybe driving children to the old neighborhood. To me,
Probably.
to me, it would be something's triggered the response for you to go in a different way. I've had that so many times where you're heading like my brain is always like dreaming and thinking, and I've got an ADHD brain, so it's very busy. And so the mundane things like having to drive home, the amount of times I've driven home to the wrong house is hilarious. But the thing is, it's the other thing that's really crazy about the mind, which I love to explain to people, is when we talk about our perception of reality, this is fascinating. We only see so much of our reality around us, and the rest is memory. Okay. So this is what I teach my students, because perception is amazing. So we are shown in our reality, firstly, what's there to keep us safe. And then if our nervous system is calm and relaxed, our perception opens up and we'll actually see a bit more of reality. And a lot of it is based towards what we want. So that's why I said it's so important to know what you want, because your perception is going to show you things in your environment. One example is, I remember I wanted for work this little black sports car. Now, I've never been a car driver. I've always had utes. I live on a farm with horses. I said to my daughter, if I ever get a car, this is the only car I'll ever get, right? I'd only ever seen it once, and I finally went and got myself the car for work because it matches my job. Within having that car, I found out that one street over, I suddenly saw the same black car driving down the road. So it wasn't that special. No, I'd never seen it, but that car would have always been there. But it wasn't a part of my perception or my reality. So you might buy a top or buy a dress or buy a car, and suddenly you see them everywhere. So we are showing what is in our reality based on, first, safety. Like I said, you're going to see the things that you need to see to keep you safe. And then you're going to be shown based on, if your nervous system is calm, based on what it is you want, your perception will open up. Now, the rest is memory. So when you're driving into town, you'll, of course, you'll notice things that you need to keep you safe, right? Like cars going past, maybe someone walking down the street. But the rest of it, most of it is memory. And so I had this person once say to me, I love this story because it's crazy. Can you go to a spa shop and grab me some spa cleaner? It's on the corner of this road and this road. And I said, no, it's not. There's like a yellow construction building there. It's been there since I was young. She goes, that building hasn't been there.
Oh no.
For about 2 years. And I said to her, I drive past it every day. That's absolute rubbish. I see it every day. It's by the lights. The next day I drive up to the lights. It's not there. It's a bunch of little shops, and one of them is a spa shop. Now, that is how our reality works. That we don't see a lot in our environment.
Did that happen before you got into hypnotherapy or after?
Did I realize this?
Well, in other words, does that happen to you now that you know?
So what I do now, that how our mind works is we all live in this space where we only see so much. For me, I try very hard to stay in my body, which is what we were talking. And this is another thing with people. We spend so much of our time out of our body and in our head. And because of that, we do miss things, we do miss opportunities, and we do, we are letting our imagination run wild a lot over things that aren't real. Like I said, the minute you're, sitting there and drifting back to something that happened in the past, it's influencing your nervous system now. When we think about, oh no, what if my 5-year-old's starting school soon? What if she goes to school, and what if she gets bullied, and blah, 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 the stories we tell ourselves, it's influencing our nervous system now. When I know that people are quite like that, I actually get people to get back in their bodies. This is not really hypnotherapy. This is more, when I work with people when they are stressed and overwhelmed. For me, I've got some friends that I have to remind all of the time. I made one a picture which says wake up as a joke to put in her kitchen. But what I get people to do is when they go into the kitchen and they touch the fridge, feel how cold it is. When people find themselves that they are drifting into thought and they can't get out of it, I say to them, actually do something. There are things that we do to shift memories that are coming through all the time. But one of the things to do is to do something to get you back in your body. It's like, for me, I tap my legs a lot to make sure that I can hear what my child is saying to me. For anybody that does have any mums, a lot of mums that do work in natural health do tend to have the more ADHD mind, because it's a creative mind, a very creative mind, and it's a mind that doesn't really want to do a 9 to 5. One of the things I've learned having ADHD and having to raise children is, when I've been on my own the whole time, but the one thing I did learn when I came into working with the mind was how I was a good mum and I was there for my kids, but I wasn't there for my kids. Does that make sense? My daughter, she would say to me, I know you're listening to me, but I know you're not there. You're not listening to me. And so one of the things I taught my daughter, which is really important, and we can do this now, is I say to my daughter, she's 13 now, when you say something to me, when you need me to hear you, actually come up to me, touch my shoulder and say, look at me, mum. And what that does is it brings my attention to her, and now I'm going to listen. And I don't mind teaching my daughter things like this, because it's helping her understand who we all are and how we function in the world. And so me saying to her, hey, sometimes I am listening, but really right now I'm like creating new businesses in my head, because this is the way my head works, and her head works the same. So having the conversation, hey, if you want to tell me something and you think I'm not listening, tap me on the shoulder and say, hey, mum, and get my eye contact and say, can you listen to me for a minute? And I will listen. And with us even reminding ourselves as a mum, and a busy mum who runs a business, and we have to do so many things, like, we have so many hats. There's a song about it. We've got so many hats, so many responsibilities, and being present can be really, really difficult. It's when you are a therapist, I find I can be very present for an hour. When I'm working with someone, I can give them 100%, but the minute I'm in this space and parenting and stuff, it's something I have to really work on. And like I said, so teaching someone just to touch you and have that eye contact, or reminding myself, okay, I'm in my body, I'm here, I need to listen, is a really good. And when it comes to stress and anxiety, if you are stressing and running around and feeling that, like I said, a lot of the time your mind is actually stressing out on what ifs in the past. And so when you tap and bring yourself into the moment and close your eyes and visualize what you actually want, it's calming and regulating your nervous system.
So there's 2 points I want to bring up from what you just said. One is the overthinking. I call it overthinking, but that's putting it mildly. So not to be funny, but the truth is, I know, well, first of all, I overthink a lot, number one. So I'm going to admit it right now. However, you always think that that's different when you do it. But the people that I'm thinking of when I say this are doing what you're saying. They are like catastrophizing everything. It's like, that cold is going to be, pneumonia or whatever. So, but you're saying that hypnosis could actually help that. I wish people knew that.
Okay. So I'm going to talk about something a little bit different. It's not so much hypnosis. It's a technique it's a trauma-informed therapy that I work with, that I teach a lot of organizations, and it's really interesting. And I'll quickly teach a technique on here. Okay. So you
want me to do it?
I'll do it soon. I'll talk about it first. When people are over catastrophizing, and when people are stressed out and overwhelmed, there is a sensation coming up in their body that's causing that. If we think about something and it doesn't affect our body or our physiology, it's just a thought. So you can have thoughts all day, and those thoughts, you might be thinking about something, and then you think about something else, and then you go and turn on the radio and you're thinking about something else. Those are thoughts. But the minute a thought that we're having affects our physiology, what's actually happening is memories are being triggered, and we've got different kinds of memories in our brain. We've got memories that we've got access to. So say you walk in a garden and you see a red rose, and your mind instantly thinks, my grandma had a red rose. I always give that demo, and I don't know why. So I bet you my grandma had a red rose once. But, I think about the red rose. And so those are explicit memories. They're memories we've got access to. Now, there's different memories that I won't get too much into it, that, there's times in our life where a situation came up where we couldn't run away, we couldn't fight, we didn't have the emotional resources. So they normally start very young, where when something was happening, our brain went into a state of overwhelm, which caused memories to actually get stuck in our feeling part of our brain stem. Now, these memories can't be accessed through thinking and talking and anything that requires thought or your frontal lobe. These are stored in a different area. A lot of people these days talk about body stored trauma, and this is what I'm talking about. Now, when these memories get triggered, they actually, when they fire up in the brain, they send a message down through the nervous system and give us a sensation. And that's depending where the memories actually got stuck in which part of the brain stem. It might give a sensation in your chest and feel like anxiety. It might fire up and suddenly you have a sick stomach, or it might fire up and your knees might hurt or even cause a headache. Now, these memories, they come when the memory opens up. The age of the memory that's in there is still quite present in our mind. So you might have a sensation, you might be thinking about something and a sensation comes up. And then suddenly there's a younger part of you that's in a situation that's not now, that's going to start giving thoughts and ideas and things in our head. And this is when we find ourselves incredibly overwhelmed, saying things that we don't mean, doing behaviors that we don't want to be doing right now. So, imagine someone's got a cold, and maybe in a past experience, maybe very young, they've witnessed someone that got quite sick. So what happens now is when their child gets a cold, maybe it fires up a memory and that sensation comes up in their body, which now the brain is saying, this could be bad, this could be bad, and they're going to play out that response. Now, we all get triggered. A triggered memory is very different to an emotion. So an emotion, you might go to work and a boss might yell at you and you might feel really angry, and now that's fine, you got yelled at. But a trigger is when something little happens, like a kid sneezes, and suddenly you have the sensation come up in your body and your response is way over what's actually happening around you. These are triggers and these are memories playing up, and we can shift these pretty easy. So the reason why I said this is happening to us. Any times in your life, where you get triggered, overwhelmed, and you say and do things that are just so out of character. I have people coming in going, I get home, I've had a good day, and I look at my husband and he looks at me and I just have this feeling come up, and I'm just such a bitch, and I say things and do things. And when we actually work on where that came from, because we can sometimes target where that memory was just to get a bit of an idea of the age. It might be triggering a 15-year-old part in us that's not happy at school, and so we're responding that way. Right. So what we can actually work on these sensations, and it's a very easy technique that we can do to shift feelings, and I can do a demo on you. I can just tell how to do it. Is there something for you that if you close your eyes and you think about something, it will trigger an actual sensation in your body? Is there something that you can...
So I should be thinking of something like traumatic, good or bad, or it doesn't matter?
No, just something in your everyday life now. That's one thing I'll say, just something in everyday life now that when you think about it, I'll tell you what I do. So I have worked with business people before, just as a demo for this. And I said to this group of people, put your hands up if you struggle sending an email. Put your hands up if you struggle getting on camera. And all these people put their hands up.
Everybody did, yeah.
And I was like, close your eyes. Where do you feel it in your body? Shift it. Yeah. So we actually were shifting that. So it's amazing how when we think of trauma memories or triggers, we think of bad things that happen to us. But literally our past experiences, our whole life is playing out in our day-to-day by how we relate to people, how we feel about ourselves. If we can send that email, I use an email as an example, because I remember when I first started working for myself, someone would sign up for a session, and the hardest thing I found was ringing up for the free consult. Was like, they'd already gone through the website, they'd already booked in a free consult, but when it was time to make the call, this feeling would come up in my body, and a lot of the time I just wouldn't. So I was losing clients because I didn't make the call. And what I know now is, for some reason, the making the call was actually triggering some memory. I didn't even bother going back to find out what it is, but was triggering some kind of sensation in the body. And once that sensation comes up in the body, our brain is saying there's a tiger in the room. Don't make that call. And then, of course, it's very hard to get over. Some people call it blocks. I don't call it blocks. It's just sensations coming up, stopping us moving forward. So when we talk about these memories, it's not always big stuff. It's the day-to-day stuff. The person that wakes up in the morning and they think, I'm going to go walking today. But when they go to walk, a sensation comes up in their body. And then they find themselves back in bed because it's warm. And it's like that sensation could be, a lot of the time I've taken people back to being 5 and tripping over at a school race. And then the brain made this connection between going for a walk is scary and dangerous. So it plays out in every area of our life, this stuff.
It does. I could understand that. Like for me, when I am nervous about something that is new to me, I have a way that I usually can get over it after I push myself to do it. And I usually get over it because once I do it a few times, I feel confident. Once I feel confident, I'm okay. But you know what? There's a lot of people I know, think of just interviews you've seen on like famous people who will say they could be, super famous people for years. And I've heard them say every single time they walk on stage, they're nervous and get like butterflies and whatever. I'm like, and that's,
it's mind-blowing, isn't it? Yeah. And it is memories playing up. So if you find yourself triggered, this is how we switch it from a brain perspective, and this is called memory reconsolidation. The science in it is huge, but the technique itself, if I have someone coming in for the most extreme things, I see people that can't wear clothes because clothes is a trigger. I see people that haven't left their house for years, people with extreme mental illness, and I always do the same techniques. And it's very similar to what I'm teaching you. This is how powerful it is. So when you have a sensation and an uncomfortable sensation in your body that's come up, you've been triggered, either someone's triggered you, either you're going to do something and you've got a sensation in your body, this is a memory triggered. So the memory is opening up. Now, what we know now is that we can use our imagination to let that memory know that it's safe. So when you've thought about something, you've triggered a sensation, suddenly you're thinking about something and you've got a nervous feeling in your chest and it's going and you're like, oh, I don't think I can make this call. If you close your eyes and notice where it is in your body, what this is doing by feeling it, this is actually really opening that memory up. There is a very small window of about 60 to 90 seconds that if you can picture the face of someone that you love, if you can use your imagination very quickly to release the feel-good brain chemicals like oxytocin, the love one, when that memory is open and you're feeling that sensation, if you can get your brain to release something good within 60 to 90 seconds, what happens is the brain is always analyzing the memory to see whether it's safe or not. And then, of course, if it is safe, it moves it out of the brainstem, and it's about a 5-hour journey to being processed as a normal memory.
Wow.
So what you always think about is, if I'm being triggered, where is it in my body? And the reason why we go into that feeling and feel where it is, so in our chest, is just because we want to get that memory nice and strong by feeling it. What I tend to do myself to create a space is I grab the feeling and throw it away and go, I don't want that. You don't have to do that. That's not part of the process. But for me, it's easy to do that, to go. So we want to go from the sensation to using our imagination to close our eyes and to picture the face of someone that you love, someone that you really love that makes you feel good, or an animal. When you picture the face of someone that you love or a place you love to be and really feel it, your brain is actually releasing chemicals, letting you know that you're safe. Okay.
Mhm.
So what we want to do is we want to do that straight away. So within 60 to 90 seconds of being triggered, we want to
Mhm.
use our imagination
I got it now.
to release
Okay.
something. And what that does is it gets the memory out of the way. Yeah.
Okay, that I got it now, finally. When you were first saying, I'm like, okay, so I am really good at visualizing, and I don't have, some people have trouble with that. I'm fine with that. But when you were first saying it, I didn't get what you, I was trying
Yeah.
to like take the person or thing that was like, that I wasn't happy with and visualizing them, like that wasn't helping.
No,
Imagine that wasn't helping.
Yeah. So basically, so in
Yeah.
a nutshell, what memory reconsolidation is, you get triggered, you feel a sensation in your body, you close your eyes, you feel
Mhm.
where it is.
Right.
For me, I
Can you,
create a
I'm
break.
sorry, can I interrupt you just for a second? Can you explain that part that I'm actually not too good with, feeling where it is? I'm not, like, tell me how to do that. How do
Okay.
I?
So let's so when you are triggered, a sensation is going to come up in your body, and
Yes.
it's a physiological response. And so some people will call this nervousness. And so people explain it, I'll be talking to them, and as I'm talking to them, they'll start to get emotional, start to get triggered. And what happens is a feeling comes over you, and it will be like, some people say it's like a heaviness in my shoulder, or it's like this all over jittery feeling, or it's a feeling
Okay.
coming up in my heart. I'll see if I can trigger you now. So is there anything that if you think about it, it makes you sad or it makes you feel nervous?
Yes,
Is there
my,
anything?
yeah. There, I mean, like, for instance, it's a good thing for her, but it's sad for me. My daughter with the grandkids is moving to another state
Okay, so close your
soon.
eyes.
Okay.
Yeah. So close your eyes. So when you think about her moving to another state, where do you feel it in your body?
Well,
Where's
yeah,
it?
I kind of just, yeah, I just kind of feel it right here, like a heaviness.
Feel it. Yeah.
Right away, that
So I
was
want you
easy.
to, so focus on that heaviness. I want you to imagine you can pull that heaviness out of your body and put it in front of you. What does it look like? If it had like a shape or a color, what does it look like? Whatever comes to mind.
It looks like an ugly gray ball.
Ugly gray ball. And what are you going to do right now to get rid of that ugly gray ball? You can turn
I'm
it to
gonna
light.
throw it. Can I throw it away?
Yeah, I want you to throw it away right now. And as you
I just
do,
wanna like push it away. Yes.
now I want you to put your hand on your heart,
Mm-hmm.
and I want you to breathe in and just picture the face of just someone or something that you love. It can be an animal or person. I want you to really picture them and feel it, and breathe in again really slowly. And then open your eyes. And now I want you to see if you can find that old feeling that was in your heart. So just move your body around.
So
Now feel it.
yeah, it actually, there is a lightness to it, sort of,
Yeah,
like, I know it's happening. I'm not delusional. I know it's gonna happen, but it does feel, a little
yeah.
bit lighter. So
And
I
so
can imagine doing that over and over.
yeah. So the lightness actually is what, when you were thinking about them moving away, it was triggering a memory. Now we can always go back and find out where it is, but for me it's not necessary. But a memory was triggered, and that memory sent a feeling down through your nervous system into your heart, which created that heaviness.
Mm-hmm.
And so when we're doing it ourselves, we don't need to pull it out and give it a shape or color. I do that with you, when I'm working with someone, because we can even go deeper into that. But
Mm-hmm.
when we have triggered a memory and there's a sensation in our body, all we need to remember is we've got a small window of, like I said, around 60 to 90 seconds. They're showing that if you can put your hand on your heart, breathe in, which is letting your body know that you're safe. And then picturing something like, when I teach this to little kids, I teach it to suicidal 7-year-olds. This is what I do
Mm-hmm.
with them, and their change is instant. And I get them to picture their cat and feel it. What it's actually doing is letting the brain know that memory is safe. Now, when the memory moves out of the brainstem, people get a sense of lightness. Why? Because it's calming the nervous system down. So people say to me, I feel lighter. And when you open your eyes, the room will seem a little bit lighter, because your perception is opening up, because your
Yeah.
brain now feels safer in the world. So even though it seems like a simple technique, I did it recently, like I said, on a person that hadn't been able to leave their bedroom for
Mm-hmm.
years, apart from to go to the toilet, quite severe
Yeah.
mental illness. Now, I got on the Zoom with them. They were prepared to work with me. I said, close your eyes, bring up the sensation that you get when you think about leaving this room. And they did, and we switched it instantly. And what did they do? They got up and left the room. Now I'm talking about, and it can be that extreme. So for us, this is why I talk on summits, to teach this technique, because it is incredibly powerful. We can do it ourselves. And if you can teach it to your kids, if they come home and they've had a bad day at school, and when they're telling you they're quite triggered, we are taught to talk to our kids and be there for them.
Yes.
Whereas in actual fact, when they're triggered, if you said to them just really quickly, hey, where's the cat? Think about the cat, or close your eyes or picture your cat. What we're trying to do is trigger that sensational memory that's coming up and replacing it, so that we can help them shift their stuff so it doesn't affect them in the future. A lot of the things we experience now are actually from school and from childhood, usually little things, but these play out in our life. So when you think about your life every day, I can pretty much guarantee you the things that you are putting off doing, you might call them names. Like, people come to me all the time with all these different names for why they're doing what they're doing, when in actual fact it's a sensation in the body. And we can spend hours working out why that sensation is there, or we can just shift the sensation and get that memory and reprocess, make it in a good space, and then have a conversation about what can we do with this now.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So
That's a good point.
Technique. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point. It's a great point, because I recently was made aware that a lot of people who want to go to therapy, or maybe start it and don't continue, even though they should, has been because they have the feeling, or they feel that, why do they want to bring up things from the past, and why do they want to, if they're doing okay except for one thing, why do they want to keep bringing it up? But to your, to what you're saying, if there was a way for them to help themselves quickly, and then later, when more appropriate, or when they felt the need to dig into the why, that makes sense for a lot of people.
What the world is going to change very soon with the way we work with trauma, PTSD, and past experiences, because we're being shown now that the constant talking with these memories, when a memory is open and you're talking about what happened to you, it actually strengthens the trauma memory and it closes down. So what you find is people that go to therapy for 5 or 10 years end up walking their stories. They can't get past it. So the new trauma-informed techniques and things coming out are really focused on now. And I work with people very serious, very, very, very serious, what we call sensitive claims, people that have been through a lot. When they come to see me, and when they come to see my students and people that the organizations I work with, they don't have to talk about whatever happened to them. They can, but not until the sensations and memories are shifted. So if someone's coming to me because, say, they can't be, I've got women that have been in relationships 20 years, they can't be touched because of what happened to them when they were a child. When they come to see me, they've been talking for 10 years with people about what happened to them. When they come to see me, I don't want to know. It's close your eyes. Where is this feeling? Shift it, and then when they open their eyes, they can be touched. Now, I know that we're doing some really deep trauma work. I know we're shifting personalities and stuff, but I don't need to know what happened then, because what's really happening is they may have had stuff happening way back there, but the truth is it's not happening now. What is happening now is their brain is just seeing things in their environment, firing up their nervous system and telling them that they're not safe now because of past experience. So if we can just work with the brain and the nervous system response and let them know they're safe and turn that off, why do I need to go back and talk about this stuff? So luckily this research is pretty new, only 20 years old, and how you can work with the brain. So we will see a massive change in how we work with trauma. But if is anyone listening here, as everyone's got it, if you have had past experiences that you want to shift, there are a lot of people around the world that work this way. You don't have to sit there and talk. For me, talk therapy is good too. Like, once people have worked with me or worked with people on sensations, they want to talk about what happened to them, which is sweet. They want to just, rationalize it with this part of their brain. And there's people out there that are incredibly amazing at just having a conversation. But having a conversation and not being triggered, woman to woman, hey, this happened to me. Yep. It's very different to someone coming into a room having a sensation, and now we've got a 5-year-old talking about what happened to them and the emotion. So this technique that I taught you guys, where you get triggered, you close your eyes, feel it where it is in your body, and switch it. It's exactly what I do with people in the clinic, for people that have had that really bad stuff happen. It's about letting our body and our nervous system know that we're actually safe here and now. And your whole topic was on stress. And stress, of course, is overwhelm, nervous system stuff. And so it all ties in. A lot of the stress and overwhelm will be past experience, but we don't even need to know. We just need to notice and just start shifting our bodies back into today, and then create a bloody good picture of what we want in the future, so that our mind can move in that direction.
Sometimes that's the way to go. And for a lot of people, that would be so helpful to, and it really sounds simple. It sounds so simple that it's coming from you, because I know you're an expert. But if it was just a friend saying the same thing, they would probably be like, no, what are you crazy?
I'll tell you what. I was going to say, when I teach organizations, when I go in and teach this stuff, I spend hours and hours explaining exactly what is happening in the brain, what is memories. I have to go through the science behind it, the research, how we know it works. Because if I just went into a bunch of psychologists, maybe a couple of psychiatrists, and said, hey, do this thing, they will not. They won't believe it, because it's very simple, and it's stuff that we're taught. Go to a lot of natural practitioners and they say this stuff. They might not know why or what's happening. But I have to spend hours showing them the brain stuff, teaching them, and then going, right, this is the technique. Now, if I did it the other way, they would never do it, because they'd look at me and say, you can't create. I even had someone last night, a psychiatrist, say, you can't change memories in 60 seconds. I'm like, we're showing, we've got it, science. I'll talk about it to you one day. But yes, we actually can, especially if we use our imagination to learn how to release feel good stuff in our brain, which we're very good at doing the opposite.
Let me just ask you before we move on. I know I'm talking long to you. I'm sorry, but it's so interesting. It really is. But before we move on from that, I have one question. I thought that children were easier, had an easier time visualizing, but some kids, maybe with ADHD or other neurodivergent issues, have trouble visualizing. Some of them, maybe some adults do too. Honestly, I don't think everybody can. I just, so for someone who has trouble making that image, work for them, is there something they can do to?
So it's interesting. I learned very quickly that only not everybody can visualize. So myself, when I close my eyes, I'm learning to visualize, but I'm a feeling person. We all have different senses, and our mind, our imagination gives us a picture in a different way. So if I got you to close your eyes and just imagine you're walking through a field, some people may see colors, they may see the grass. Some people may feel as though they're in the field. And if I said, feel the sun on your face, I'd be able to feel heat. The sense of smell is really interesting. My sense of smell is really good. So if I close my eyes and imagine that I can smell my favorite food, I'll be able to smell it, whereas other people can't. Now, some people can hear, like, for me, if I think of a song, I can hear it in my mind. I didn't know that not everybody could do that. So our brain and our imagination, we all perceive things in a different way, but what's happening in our brain is the same. So if I say to someone, close your eyes and picture or imagine the face of someone you love, they might close their eyes and they might just imagine their cat in front of them, whereas they might not see it, but they might feel as though it's there, or they might be able to smell it. So the sense of being able to see with your eyes closed is not necessary. When I work with kids and this kind of stuff, say say I have kids coming in, and like I said, it's very sad. I see very young kids that are not in a good way, very young. And like if I have a kid working with me and that they're not happy, and I just say to them, what's going on? Where do you feel it in your body? And they point here. And I say, oh, well, can you pull it out and give it to me with your eyes open? Kids are in trance. Up to about the age of 7, we don't need eyes closed or visualizations and things. So I just say to me, well, can you pull that feeling out and put it in my hand? And they'll pull it out and put it in my hand. And I'll be like, what does it look like in my hand? And they'll go, it's a red triangle. I'm like, do you want it? Or should we throw it away? Throw it away. Okay, now think of mum or whoever they want, and breathe in. So I do this with them, but I do it with their eyes open because they're in trance. They don't need to do kind of what we do so much. And they're very easy to work with. My little girl, when she was 6 or 7, when she did, she would do it with her friends if they weren't feeling good. Can you give me that feeling? Because like I said, they live in a world of of make believe and of everything is big and real. So so if you're doing these kind of things with kids, you literally just ask them, where do you feel it? By teaching them where do you feel it in your body, you're starting to teach them that to not get up into the stories of it too. Like when we have a sensation come up in our body, instead of thinking of pulling it out or where is the sensation and changing it, what we do as humans, it's our nature, is we have a sensation in our body and our brain's like, I know what this is. This person must be thinking about me. Oh, this is that thing again that comes up because I'm not good enough. And then we get into the stories of why the sensation is there. So for me, teaching kids, oh, I'm not feeling good. Oh, close your eyes. Where's that feeling in your body? It's down here. Oh, let's pull it out. It's teaching them coping techniques very young, of not getting into the storytelling that we do. And I can guarantee everyone listening to this, we all have stories. I worked with someone recently for weight loss, and she came in and she was telling me her whys of why she's overweight. And the stories that I hear from people are unbelievable, from the very basic things to it's hereditary to it was a relationship problem. And it's probably right, these have all overwhelmed the nervous system. But the amount of stories that she had, we had to we've got to close the door on these stories or else we're not going anywhere. So we have these stories. And so by learning to be curious and go, oh, I've got a sensation in my body, let's get into this and get out of it instead of getting into the storytelling. But very similar to mindfulness. Good technique to teach kids.
Yeah, it is. I love that. This is a great place to end, because I feel like that is if everybody would just do one thing and remember that whatever you're working on, you have to work on yourself, right? So if you're working on yourself, whether it's for mindset, whether it's for business or parenting or purposefulness or anything, it doesn't matter. When you're doing that, it's just like anything else. And those kids are watching you, and
100%.
they hopefully will grow up learning to do this instead of having to relearn or readjust everything as an adult, which is so much harder. If you just learn it in the beginning, right? That's why when the schools actually around here started to do, it was right after COVID, started to do SEL, more SEL training for teachers, social emotional learning. I don't know if it's the same everywhere, but it was so beneficial to the kids. At first, the parents were like, do the kids really need to do yoga and, do this? You know what? It was so helpful to those kids. And the schools stopped it because they made it a separate class. It's not really made to be a separate class. It's just like, I could see, I do a lot with the schools and with my coaching and with volunteering, and the best teachers are doing it anyway. They're incorporating regular, that into their regular day. And the kids are they're benefiting from it so much. So if they are learning that at home as well, they're going to be much better off.
Amazing. And like you said, our kids are always learning through watching us. And if you're a mum and you do have a bit of a trigger and you shift it, it's so good for your kids to see. And if you are a mum and you have something come up and you say and do things that you don't mean, actually sitting down and going and saying to your kids, hey, I just had a moment. Maybe my mind was slipping into a past thing, and it's not about you. This is my stuff. And you know, sometimes when we're like this, we should just, you know, have a breather, you know, letting kids know that it's actually okay, and teaching them ways of getting around it is very important. So it's really cool teaching that stuff in schools. Yeah.
Yes, it is. And parents, you know, cannot be expected to be perfect 100% of the time. Nobody is. It's not going to happen. You're going to make mistakes. That's part of life, right? But your kids are making mistakes too. And that's the great part, is when you can say to them, you know, mommy made a mistake. They hear you say that, and they're not afraid of making mistakes themselves. So yeah, I mean, we have to, listen, you have to come back and visit us again. I know this is a summit, not a podcast, but I treat it like a podcast. So because
I'll come back anytime.
There's so much. There's so much more to go into, and I love it. And I think that a lot of people will be surprised at a lot of things you said. And there's so much more. So I'm going to put up your slide so you can talk about your free offer. And I want everybody to be able to, your links of where to find you are going to be in the chat and in people's emails. There you go.
Sweet. So the justinenet.com, that goes to my kind of like my training page. So it's a website that goes to different websites. Like I have an organization, I have a private clinic page, and then I have like different learnings and things that I teach. So that JustineNet kind of links through to there. But what I thought I would do, and what I like to do for summits, is just give out a hypnotherapy app. So what this is it just has hypnotherapy recordings on it, and I put recordings on there, I think maybe for sleep, for stress, just a couple of little things. It is more the old school hypnosis where you know, close your eyes down and listen to what I'm saying to you. I'll just do a note for busy mums and things like that. If someone said to me, lie down and listen to something and don't move or don't think for 15 minutes, there's no way I can do it. With these ones here, you don't have to hear what I'm saying. You know, if you close your eyes and listen to a recording, but you're thinking about what you're making for dinner, it is totally all good. A part of you is listening, and just the art of you know, having it there is starting to regulate your nervous system. So it is something you can do, you know, as you're going to sleep. It's something you can do. I used to do it all the time, waiting for a kid outside, you know, a sports thing or something. I'd sit in my car and have it going on just for a few moments. So for a lot of us with busy minds, it's you don't have to focus on what I'm saying. You can just be there and have it in the background. But it's just a little hypnotherapy app thing.
Yes. And it's, you know what, your site has a lot of information on it, so people can, you know, go in and browse around there and dig everything out. And I'm going to put all the links, like I said, to everyone, because it's very, and people both who are, you know, who knew they are open to hypnosis or any kind of mindfulness, and others who didn't think they would be, you know, may be surprised. So I think it's great.
Well, thank you very much.
You're welcome. You're welcome. Thank you so much. I am so happy we did this. And I definitely will want to talk to you some more.
Anytime. I love talking, as you can tell.
Thank you. We're all like that, right? Thank you so much.
Awesome.